Last Thursday, I posted about my recent diagnosis of POF, premature ovarian failure. I reached out to social media to help me in my search for answers, and the response was overwhelming. I have never witnessed so much love, kindness, and vulnerability from total strangers on an app. Hello. That's the one thing that annoys me about fake tan, is when it clings to your hairline. Anyway, not important. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen my post last week all about my recent diagnosis of POF, premature ovarian failure. I was told last Monday and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I knew something wasn't right, but I wasn't entirely sure what that was. Going for fertility testing, so I thought they're going to test my hormones there and then. So I waited, and I am so relieved that I had that test. The tests were all done on the Thursday or the Wednesday. Anyway, Monday morning rolls round and I get the results and it was really bad. The doctor even said it's not good, it's bad news. So I ended up bursting into tears in front of the doctor on Zoom, which was fucking embarrassing. And then after that, oh, I'm crying again. Start again. For a person that's never even broken a bone in their entire 28 years, the diagnosis came as such a shock. I was really so overwhelmed, felt really alone, scared, isolated. Ironically, I was more concerned with Jodie's situation. Jodie's 42 and has had his entire life sponsored by Belvedere vodka. Turns out it was me that was the problem. Am I the drama? And then after that, they didn't get in touch at all for nearly a week. Friday morning rolls round and I had to call them and I was like, guys, I haven't heard anything. I emailed the doctor on Wednesday asking for a copy of my results. This is really not okay to have just been ignored all week. There was no follow-up email to say, I'm sorry about your results, or I'm sorry to hear, your bad news, but try this or try that. In the meantime, their idea was to freeze my eggs and begin the IVF process. That's without doing any lifestyle changes. And then Friday afternoon, I get an email from them. The email was like, oh, I'm so sorry for the delay. Here's a breakdown of costs and here's an invoice and the link to pay. They want 13 grand to freeze my eggs. She's gone straight in for the big dog. There's nothing on there about, try vitamins or try light exercise or try this, try that. Yeah. I am not impressed with the care of London Opposite of Men clinic. Don't ask me why, but I've always had this weird idea of IVF of being something hardly anyone ever has. It must be really bad if you have to have IVF. The amount of women that have reached out to me and said, oh, I had IVF. I mean, some of them even as young as 21. It made it feel a bit more normal. I came off the pill in January. I was slowly easing myself off it in December. And then I took it again for a week whilst I was on the dog's behind me. Whilst I was on my Hendu because I didn't want to have a period whilst I was away. Heck! Stop, it's here. Go on, go away. I came off it. I've been off it for 6 months. And during that time, my periods have been bizarre, totally irregular. First 8 weeks I didn't have a period at all, which I was expecting because from my research on Google, again, lots of people were saying that, they hadn't had a period but they still managed to get pregnant and whatever else. So I was still being careful. I was still using other forms of contraception because we weren't actually trying for a baby. I didn't want a baby for at least another 2 or 3 years. As silly as it sounds now, I wanted to have my 30th, we're moving next year, and there's all sorts of things I wanted to do in my career before I decided to have another responsibility in my life. I had really strange symptoms. The periods were definitely the first sign for me, but I put that down to the pill not having left my body yet, and in time that would all change. The second thing, which is also going to sound ridiculous, I remember having my Botox done with Soph, and I was literally crying in pain. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I have a really high pain threshold. Like, I can do it. Like, I'm really good with needles and everything else. I'm not scared of anything like that. To the point where it hurt me so bad to have my lips dissolved. I was crying and I was holding Jodie's hand, and Sophie was like, is everything okay? This is so not like you. She said to me then, she was like, are you pregnant? And I was like, no, I'm definitely not pregnant, like definitely not. Strangely, the symptoms that I've had are similar to the early signs of pregnancy. Carrying excess weight around the middle that I just could not shift. I was fasting and I just felt bloated all the time. All the time. It didn't matter what I ate, what I drank, what I didn't eat. I just felt rough. Insomnia was a huge thing for me. I'm a big sleeper. I can sleep anytime, anywhere. And I was struggling to go to bed. And when I did go to bed, I'd wake up after 2 hours and be like, ping, wide awake, or having really scary dreams where I'd end up being awake for the rest of the night because I was too scared to go back to sleep. Another symptom that really stood out for me, and Jodie will vouch for this, was the hot flushes. I did experience them more at night, but I would literally be waking up in a pool of sweat, like in a pool of water. It was disgusting, but I did only really have those at night time, strangely enough. Now looking back, I know it was a perimenopausal symptom, which is the whole reason why I've got POF. So bloating, periods, pain, oh, and my skin changed dramatically. I'm quite dark as it is. I'm not olive skinned, but I'm still dark. My dad's really dark. I was on a sunbed a few times and kept burning when I was only doing what I've always done. So I stopped the sunbeds, and then I was in a pub garden with my girlfriends in like April or May, and I burnt in a pub garden, and I thought, this is really weird. I mean, the symptoms I've discussed, symptoms that can be had by anyone for any reason. So if you're feeling the same way, don't think, oh my God, I'm infertile. Don't panic. Most of those changes in your body can be caused by diet or stress or any other reason. But don't panic. If you saw my post, it wasn't intended to scaremonger. My plan is now to give women the guidance that they need through sort of holistic alternatives, or just in general, to try and find ways of creating a safer environment for all of us when it comes to contraception. I'm going to be posting more on YouTube and on Instagram about my journey and how I'm going to overcome it, because I'm going to fix this naturally. Before I put any other hormones or injections into my body, I think I need to give myself a clean break and give it a go. In my family and amongst my friends, I'm known as like the fixer. I've always been the person that people come to with their problems, and I'm always able to help them in a way, whether it be a number for someone that can do this or a place to go here. Before it was more about like, what can I use to stop creasing under my eyes? And now it's like, what can I use to get pregnant? I'm excited with where this is going to go, how I can help others. By sharing my story, I'm hoping it will give other women the courage and confidence to share theirs too. I'm going to do everything in my power to raise as much awareness about this as possible and make sure I get pregnant.